The realization hit me like a freight train. I was $20,000 in debt, and my own mother was the conductor. Her betrayal felt like a sharp blade twisting inside me. Impossible to ignore, each moment cascading into the next with an agonizing clarity that pierced my every thought. The bank statement felt like poison in my hands, soaking through my skin with each damning number. $20,000. My own mother's betrayal, neatly typed in ink, an involuntary inheritance of despair. The apartment walls seemed to close in, suffocating me with their silent judgment. I'd remembered those afternoons filled with her warmth and love. Never could I have imagined her doing this. Anger smoked within me, mingling with a deep-cutting hurt and hollow disappointment. Part of me longed to confront her, demand an explanation. But the fear that understanding those reasons might unravel whatever flimsy threads we had left held me back. Was there even a truth that wouldn't utterly destroy us? I needed to know, yet dread pooled in my stomach, whispering that I wasn't ready for the answers. What could she possibly say that wouldn't splinter us into pieces? Staring at that damn statement, my hands shook as if trying to expel the ugly truth from my grasp. How could she? I was sitting on the edge of my bed, the room around me a blur of muted colors, suffocated in the steady hum of my pulse pounding against my eardrums. Papers were scattered around me, marked by numbers that didn't add up. The loan, taken in my name. A heavy, glaring truth I couldn't unsee. Each number was a silent accusation, a betrayal wrapped in legal jargon. I read it again, willing the words to morph into something, anything, else. The veneer of my normal life was cracking, exposing something raw and unsettling beneath. I stood up abruptly, feeling a surge of desperation clawing at my insides. Out the window, the world continued in ignorant bliss, the sun shining with mocking clarity. Inside, the walls seemed to close in, suffocating. I shook my head, trying to shake off the denial wrapping itself around me. The letter fluttered from my fingertips, landing face up, reminding me of the unavoidable. This wasn't just a number. This was trust, shattered. She wouldn't do this, I muttered, grappling with disbelief. But the documents weren't specters of my imagination. They were as real and cold as the rush of betrayal now pulsing through me. Walking to the kitchen, each step felt weighted. My breath hitched as I paused in the doorway, the air charged with memories, birthday candles, late-night talks, shared tears and laughter. And now it seemed like those moments hung between us, tainted. My phone buzzed, an intrusion of mundane against the chaos in my head. It was her mom. Her name blinked cheerfully up at me, a cruel irony. Swallowing against the knot in my throat, I declined the call. My mind raced, flitting between anger and disbelief so fast I felt dizzy. Did she think I wouldn't find out? Didn't she care about the fallout? Or about me? I pressed my fingers against my temple, trying to ease the pounding headache that mirrored my turmoil. I trusted you, I whispered, the words fluttering into the silence of the room like fragile butterflies. The burn of betrayal cut deep, and suddenly, anger roared to life inside me, fierce and unrelenting. Something heavy thudded in my chest, an anchor of hurt and disbelief. My hand clenched around the edge of the counter, seeking stability, a mooring in this chaos. The thought hammered at my defenses mercilessly. I had to confront her. I needed answers. As the shadows grew long, streaking the floor with darkness, I felt a clarity emerge from the storm. This wasn't just about money. It was about everything. Trust, family, love. I had to face her, and this realization sat cold and immovable in my gut. The path ahead seemed tangled with complications, but it was unavoidable. It was time to break the silence. As I drove towards my mother's house, the familiar streets around me felt like ghosts. Each corner held fragments of my childhood, delicate pieces of a puzzle I thought I'd put together long ago. But today, those pieces felt jagged and out of place. Her betrayal clung to the air, heavy and immutable. Each tree we passed should have only whispered of past birthday parties and Saturday morning walks. But now they seemed to taunt me with truths I wasn't ready to accept. The closer I got, the more those memories crawled from the recesses of my mind. In one, I was chasing her on a warm summer day, her laughter like a bell ringing over the lush green field. I could almost feel the grass beneath my small hands, the sun wrapping around us in a golden embrace. Back then, Everything felt simple and pure, each moment a declaration of our bond. But with every block I passed, those images warped, twisting into confrontations unresolved and words left unspoken. The past and present blurred into a melody too discordant to bear. The warmth of those earlier moments now only served to fuel a sense of mounting rage within me. As her house came into view, my heart rattled against my ribs like a prisoner desperate to escape. I should have been comforted by the sight, the same faded paint, the slight tilt of the porch where I once played. But instead, all I felt was an accelerated pulse of betrayal, echoing in a place where trust was meant to reside. I parked the car, the engine a steady rumble beneath the chorus of my thoughts. I sat there for a moment longer, gripping the steering wheel, my knuckles pale and sharp under the sun's harsh gaze. I had to go in. I needed answers, to understand why the laughter had stopped and become silent betrayal. Stepping onto the path that led to the door, every stone under my feet pulled at strings of doubt and disbelief. My mind drifted, trying to snatch at memories of her reading stories at bedtime, her eyes reflecting every imagined world as if they were our own. Yet here I was, standing on the precipice of a confrontation that might unravel every word, every moment we ever shared. I reached for the doorbell, fingers hovering in hesitation, knowing once this bell's song passed into the silence, nothing would hold back the flood. In that moment, standing on the weather-beaten porch, the voices of my childhood clashed against the storm of my present turmoil. And just as I pressed down, the first notes of the chime began, slicing through the air with a sharp clarity, as if daring to break the pervasive, stifling stillness between us. I waited for the door to open, and with it, for a part of my innocence, a part still yearning for the motherly embrace to collide with the reality of what I was about to face. The clatter of the broken vase echoed too loud in the small room, its shards like a smattering of screams, as if mimicking the chaos swirling inside me. I could still feel the jagged edges of paper in my pocket, bank statements, cold and accusing. My heart pounded like it was trying to break free from its confining cage, every beat insisting, "Ask her." Now, she stood at the window, her back turned, staring out into the rain-smeared world that seemed almost peaceful despite everything. The room felt different, menacing in a way, heavy with invisible tension. I wished I could remember it as it used to be, just before the betrayal, before this abyss that had opened between us. "Mom," I managed to say, my voice low, barely penetrating the silence. She turned slowly, her face a mask of practiced calm, but her eyes, those eyes, were like storm clouds ready to unleash. "You need to explain this," I continued, pulling out the crumpled papers, thrusting them into the space between us as if they could physically bridge the chasm. Her eyes followed the paper, not quite meeting mine. The room felt hotter, suffocating, as if every unspoken word was adding another layer to the air, thickening it. "What is this, Mom?" I demanded, my voice rising with the desperation I couldn't suppress. My mind braced for the words I was afraid she'd say, but more afraid she wouldn't, the lie I hoped for and the truth I feared. She held the paper in her hands, smoothing them out slowly, deliberately. A moment that stretched painfully, seconds feeling like minutes. My heart raced faster, and I could feel every nerve tingling, anticipating the worst. Then she whispered, "I'm sorry." Her voice was like the wind moving through the trees, fragile but unstoppable. Her eyes, brimming with tears, finally met mine, and I saw it there, the bare and raw truth that twisted my insides. It was for the house, to keep us safe. Shock rooted me to the floor, battling with the rising tide of anger. "You stole for this." My voice, incredulous and cracking on the edges of betrayal, reverberated off the walls. "Yes," she choked out, a single tear escaping down her cheek, the first of many, breaking whatever barriers she had left. I thought I was doing what's best for us." My mind spun, the room seemed to blur, and the walls closed in, a smothering weight I hadn't noticed before. Her words hung heavily in the air, a deceptive balm that only seared the betrayal deeper. "But why, Mom?" My whisper, lost between a plea and an accusation, escaped without my consent. "I was scared of losing everything," she replied, voice small, almost childlike in her confession. "Something broke inside me, a fracture in the dam holding back weeks, months of questioning. The truth lay before us, stark and undeniable, and nothing could ever be the same. Her words wrapped around my heart like a vice, squeezing till I could barely breathe. I sat on the edge of our worn-out couch, staring into the void where seconds ago I thought life made sense. The room began tilting, colors draining from the walls. My chest felt heavy, as though a thick fog had settled over me. I heard my heart pounding, each beat recognizing a new fracture in what I thought was unbreakable. She sat across from me, eyes fixed on some distant point beyond the room, the ghost of a tear glistening on her cheek. For a moment, I wanted to reach out, to brush it away, to speak the words that might relieve her guilt. But something tangled and dark inside me twisted tighter, a knot that refused to unravel. God, how did we get here? My mind kept circling that question like a hawk after its prey, but finding no solid ground to land. Her desperation was so palpable, woven through her confession. It was like grasping shadows. I fought to remember the warmth of her laughter, the shared glances that once spoke so loudly of love, hoping they might anchor me. But all I felt was the chill of betrayal snaking up my spine. I thought. Her voice was a whisper, a threadbare plea hanging in the air. I thought it would help us, that maybe we could find a way out. Her reasoning, her justification, wrapped around her like a shroud. She looked at me then, and the raw vulnerability was like a slap. It shattered something inside me, some delicate construct of trust and understanding. Yet, in that shattering, another emotion surged, a fierce, unexpected wave of compassion. Could the comfort of our home justify this burden? The answer scrambled somewhere in the chaos of my thoughts. Her choices felt like pieces of a mismatched puzzle, each one tearing at the carefully constructed image of our life together. And still, buried beneath layers of anger was a whisper suggesting she had been reaching out through her mistakes. The silence stretched between us, another character in our unfolding drama, heavy with unspoken words. I turned my gaze out the window, where the faint glow of the street lamp bled into the night. There was a strange solace in the darkness, an understanding that life was often lit by the dimmest of lights. My hand, almost involuntarily, brushed against hers. How swiftly fragile things crumbled, yet how easily they could spark something unexpected, a flicker, a hint of warmth amidst the cold. In that touch, the fury softened, not forgiven but acknowledged, woven now into the complex tapestry of our shared history. My breath steadied, each inhalation a delicate attempt to piece together the remnants of shattered dreams. If there was a path through this, it lay not in the pieces themselves, but perhaps in the simple act of holding them together, one trembling grasp at a time. I sat on the edge of my bed, laptop balanced precariously on my knees. The room was dim, the only illumination coming from the screen's harsh light, casting long shadows that I tried not to see as portentous. My eyes skimmed over countless articles and forum posts, each headline a promise of rescue that quickly dissolved into smoke the moment I clicked. Debt relief, I whispered under my breath, as if by speaking it, a solution might materialize. One tab after another, I delved into the tangled mess of jargon and fine print. Each search result felt like a punch to the gut. Solutions were scarce, hope even scarcer. The numbers loomed large on the spreadsheet I'd hastily constructed, flashing with every blink like a cruel reminder of my own folly. My fingers hovered over the calculator app, hesitating. I forced myself to enter the numbers again, wishing they'd changed since the last time. $32,437. A monstrous figure, each digit with its claws sunk deep into my future. Why did I think it was a good idea to take out that loan? It was supposed to help, to bridge the gap, smooth out the rougher edges life throws in your path. But instead, it had become a chasm all its own, threatening to swallow me whole. The air felt suffocating, pressing in as I continued the search. A click, the whispering scroll of page after page revealing nothing but the same hopeless cycle. Consolidation loans, financial advisors, debt management plans. Their promises were all dressed in temporary relief, their solutions temporary at best, deceptive at worst. I wanted to scream, to crumple the bills in my fist, throw them across the room. But instead, I just sat there, silent, as the buzz of the laptop fan steadily filled the void. A forum from some subcorner of the internet caught my eye, a story of someone who'd once been where I was now. They spoke about the anxiety, the sleepless nights, and the relentless tightness in your chest that wraps around your every waking moment. Crazy thoughts, selling possessions, working extra jobs, even calling it quits, all etched across my mind with cold clarity. I jumped at the sudden ping of a notification, the sound foreign and jarring in the heavy silence. A reminder that time was slipping by, dragging me further into a future I had no intention of living. As my eyes went back to the screen, the panic began to swirl tighter around my spine. My muscles twitched under the skin, restless, as if urging me to do something, anything. But my mind felt trapped, pinned beneath the weight of responsibility and the inability to act. The harsh blue glow from the monitor retreated into shadows, leaving me face to face with the truth I'd been trying so hard to avoid. I let out a shuddering breath, feeling as though I was on the brink of being consumed by the very darkness around me. The house felt different as I stepped inside, like it had been holding its breath, waiting for this moment. The air was heavy, it pressed down on me, urging me to speak, but the words tangled in my chest. It was just me and her, the ticking of the clock stretching the silence between us. She was in the kitchen, washing dishes, her back to me, as though the mundane act could insulate her from the tremors between us. "Mom," I called out, my voice breaking that fragile quiet. She turned, her eyes meeting mine, tired but guarded, the way they always were. I walked over, each step a little heavier. "Just tell me why, Mom. I need to understand." She sighed, using the dish towel like a shield, rubbing her fingers through the fabric. "It's not so easy," she murmured, looking away, avoiding the weight of my gaze. Her voice was soft, but there was a crack in it, a small fracture that betrayed her. "Please," I insisted, my words softer now, pleading. "I just need to know what makes you you. Why things had to be the way they were." Her hand stilled, and she took a breath, slow and deep, like she was unfolding something within, something long buried. We do things sometimes because we have to, not because we want to." Her eyes finally turned back to me, the veneer of strength slipping just a little. "Choices are rarely good or bad. They're just all we have." I sank onto one of the kitchen chairs, the cushion firm and unyielding beneath me. "But why didn't you ever let me in on any of it?" The words were out before I could catch them, raw and exposed. She moved to the table, sitting opposite me with a careful grace, like she could feel the fragility of this moment. "When you're a parent," she began, her voice a low tremor, "sometimes you think shielding is the same as love." Her hands fidgeted, twisting the towel until it was a coiled rope. "I didn't want you to see everything. It seemed kinder then." I shook my head, a mix of sorrow and anger clawing at my insides. "I needed you to show me you trusted me. How could you not see that hiding only hurt more?" Her expression softened, pain mingling with regret. "I know," she whispered. "I know that now. But back then, all I saw was how heavy everything was. How breaking even a little might break us entirely." I looked at her, really looked, and saw the way her shoulders curved inwards like she was carrying the unseeable weight of it all. "I just wish it hadn't been this way." She nodded, eyes glistening as they met mine. "Me too." And there we sat, two bearing witnesses to old scars laid bare, the distance between us shrinking with the understanding that both of us had been trying all along, in the only way we knew how. Her voice trembled, carrying the weight of a million unspoken thoughts and regrets that seemed to hang in the air like a storm waiting to break. "I had no one else to turn to," she began, her eyes fixed on some distant point in the past. "We were both sitting at the old kitchen table, the one we'd kept since I was a kid. The laminate had worn away in places, revealing rough wood beneath, much like the spirit of the woman who sat across from me now. Her hands were knitting together in front of her, the skin soft with age and years of hard-earned wisdom. But today, they trembled slightly, betraying the calm facade she tried to keep. I leaned in closer, as if proximity could ease the distance decades had built between us. The sun was setting outside, casting long shadows across the room, theatrical in their slow, gentle movement. Her breath caught in her throat, and for a moment, it seemed like the air itself waited in anticipation. She sighed deeply, finally pulling her gaze away from whatever ghost she had been seeing and onto me. I could feel the force of her struggle through the intensity of her stare. "Your father was gone by then." Her voice broke off, the past settling over her like a shroud. I was so young, so ill-prepared. As she spoke, each word seemed to release a fragment of some hidden burden she had carried for too many years. We didn't have much. I couldn't even afford rent some months, let alone keep food on the table. Her voice grew steadier, as if unburdening her shame allowed her to stand taller. There were whispers, you know. Everyone had strong opinions on what I ought to be doing, whom I should ask for help, but no hand reached out, only judgment. My chest tightened, but I kept silent, offering her the space she needed. The hum of the fridge, the distant tick of a clock filled the spaces between her words. It's a dark place, feeling cornered by the world. Her eyes met mine, each word deliberate as if they were bricks rebuilding a trust that had once crumbled. There's no manual for desperate choices. My heart ached as her story unfolded, layer upon layer. I could see now, the fear that had been masked by courage in my childhood memories. The pauses in her speech dragged me through the shadows of her past, pulling me deeper into her emotional labyrinth. The anger I had held for so long began to thaw, melting away in the warmth of understanding. Her final words hung in the air, a somber note in a haunting melody. I did the best I knew how. It wasn't much, but it was all I had. Her voice was rough yet tender as the room filled with a soft silence, urging both of us into an embracing calm. The sun had finally dipped below the horizon, but I could see clearly now. The air was still, as though the universe itself held its breath alongside me. I sat on the sagging couch, its springs creaking beneath my weight, staring at the peeling wallpaper, each strip threatening to unravel a part of my life. Vulnerable, raw, I let the silence envelop me, allowing every whispered doubt and deferred dream to resurface like ghosts from their graves. My hands rested on my knees, palms up as if yielding to an unseen burden, fingers twitching with tiny spasms of anxiety. Her scent lingered in the room, a blend of jasmine and something sweet I could never quite place. It used to invite me in, pull at my senses. Now it taunted me, pressing against the soft spots that she knew all too well. In this sanctuary of our shared memories, a decision was forming. This was where I had to untangle the knots we had tied ourselves into. Each debt, a thread tightening, constraining us, drawing blood with the smallest movement. Her betrayal loomed immense, a heavy pendulum swinging between us. Yet, amidst the scattered remnants of what we were, the scattered bank statements and hastily scrawled apologies, I found strands of something clearer than anger, more substantial than pain. Love, yes, but also a yearning for salvage. I leaned back, my eyes closing for just a moment. In the darkness behind my lids, visions of conversations recently held replayed in harsh clarity. Her voice, once honeyed with affection, now trembled with desperation as it reverberated. "I'm sorry, I thought I could take care of this before you knew." That unguarded admission, both a confession and a plea, crystallized before me. I felt the weight lift, just a fraction, as clarity seeped through the cracks. I opened my eyes, looking at the small, worn photograph on the coffee table between us. It was taken during happier times, moments captured in sepia, falsely eternal. We were smiling, full of hope. I knew those people. I remembered that version of us. It struck me then, the simple truth amidst the debris, amidst the wreckage of trust, lay a blueprint for rebuilding. It wouldn't be easy, rebuilding never is. But every sigh, every misstep and stumble, whispered a quiet defiance against giving up. I stood up, the decision settling in my bones like a promise made under a vast, forgiving sky. Her key turned in the lock behind me, the sound gentle as a whisper. "Hey," she said, the word carrying a fragile hope. It quivered in the space between us. "Hey," I replied, turning to face her. My voice held a tinge of resolve. "Let's talk," I said, my heart steady as I reached for her hand, the gesture both a bridge and a lifeline. It was a beginning, an opportunity to weave something new from the detritus. And perhaps, amid the echoes of past mistakes, there was room for dreams we had yet to conceive. Standing in the bank's sterile lobby, I felt a strange mix of dread and anticipation. The acrid smell of industrial cleaner hit me as I took tentative steps toward the row of desks. Each slow pace was a reminder of the mess behind me and the uncertain path ahead. My fingers nervously drummed against the side of my worn jeans, a rhythm that mirrored my racing heart. The soft drone of hushed conversations buzzed around me, yet each footstep toward Mr. Andrews' desk seemed painfully loud. He looked up from his papers, casting a brief, polite smile that softened the sharp angles of his features. His desk was cluttered with the usual bureaucratic chaos, but to me, it represented something more, a crossroads. "Here's the agreement," Mr. Andrews said, pushing a sheaf of papers toward me. His voice was calm, steady, a tether to reality I desperately needed. My eyes scanned the document. Lines and lines of legal jargon twisted into a foreign language of my own making: redemption, risk, release. With each signature, I felt a new weight lift, not the debt, not yet. But hope, at least, seemed within reach. The pen felt heavy in my hand, an unexpected conduit between despair and renewal. I signed with deliberate care, as if marking my way forward with each carefully printed curve. "You're doing the right thing," Mr. Andrews reassured me, his voice like a warm wind cutting through the chill of the bank. "This is a fresh start." His words hung in the air, a subtle, persistent echo that wrapped itself around my weary bones. I wanted to believe him, needed to believe him, but memories of hollow promises and past failures lingered stubbornly. I dipped my head in a muted nod, trying to silence the doubt gnawing inside. Outside, the afternoon sun fell in slanted rays, splashing over the sidewalk with unexpected warmth. I paused at the exit, blinking against the sudden light. The sky was impossibly blue, stretching endlessly above, a canvas untouched by the troubles below. The weight in my chest, heavy as it was, seemed to lighten fractionally. This first step, the tiniest, shaky move forward, was mine. The long road to reconciliation, to rebuilding what was left of my broken connections, lay scattered with unresolved conflicts and whispered apologies. But there was time for that now. With the sun warming my back, I took a breath, deeply filling my lungs with the brisk air that somehow smelled of promise. Each forward movement was deliberate, like threading the needle of something precious and fragile. Today wasn't an endpoint, but a new beginning. The tangled web of debts and promises and shame wouldn't unravel overnight. But for the first time, I realized it didn't have to. Each moment, each decision was my own. The burden hadn't vanished, but I imagined it shifting, bit by bit, as I kept moving forward.